Somewhere in America tonight, there's a man sitting on the edge of a thin jailhouse cot, staring at his own hands and telling himself the same lie he's been telling himself for 30-some years. He's blaming the world. He's blaming the people who trusted him. He's blaming everyone but the one man in that cell. And here's the strange part. He honestly believes he's the victim. I want you to stay with me through this one, because by the end, you're going to understand something about trust, about blame, and about the quiet mirror life eventually holds up to every single one of us. And I promise you, you're going to know exactly who in your life needs to hear this story tonight. His name was Henry Doyle, and for most of his 42 years, Henry had been the kind of man folks in his small Ohio town crossed the street to avoid. He worked odd jobs when he felt like it, slept in a single-wide trailer at the edge of a gravel road, and kept a chipped coffee mug on the counter that had said, "World's Best Dad," before the letters wore off. He hadn't seen his daughter in 11 years. And on this particular cold October night, Henry was driving a borrowed pickup down a back road toward Miller's Hardware on Main Street with a flashlight, a crowbar, and a head full of bad ideas. Here's the thing about Henry. He didn't see himself as a bad man. He saw himself as a man the world had cheated. Every job that didn't work out, every friend who walked away, every Christmas card that never came from his little girl. Henry had a story for all of it. And in every single story, somebody else was the villain. That's the heaviest weight a man can carry, and most folks never even know they're carrying it. The belief that everyone else is the problem. The quiet, stubborn refusal to look in the mirror. Henry pulled the pickup into the dark alley behind Miller's Hardware just past midnight. The old store had a heavy steel safe in the back office. Everybody in town knew it, because Old Man Miller had owned that place for 47 years and never trusted a bank a day in his life. Henry slipped through the back door he'd jimmied open the week before, his boots crunching softly on the wood floor. He moved through the darkness with his flashlight low, and when the narrow beam finally landed on that old safe in the corner, Henry stopped cold, because taped right there on the front of the safe, at eye level, hand-folded, neat as a Sunday school note, was a small piece of white paper. And what happened next, he never could have predicted. Henry stood there in the dark, breathing through his nose, his heart pounding under his denim jacket. He stepped closer to the safe and angled the flashlight up. The note was written in careful, slanted handwriting, the kind a man writes when he's taking his time. It read, "Friend, please don't damage the safe. It isn't locked. Just turn the handle. Pastor Miller." Henry read it twice, 3 times. He felt a slow grin pull at the corner of his mouth, because in his head, this was the easiest job he'd ever pulled. He reached out, wrapped his rough hand around the cold brass handle, and started to turn dot now. Here's the part most people miss. Because the second Henry turned that handle, 3 things happened at once that no one in that dark room could have prepared for. A heavy canvas sandbag dropped from a rigged beam above and slammed straight onto his shoulder, knocking him to the wood floor. Every floodlight in that store snapped on bright as a stadium. And outside on Main Street, a siren, wired straight to the sheriff's office 2 blocks down, started screaming into the cold October night, loud enough to wake every dog and every grandmother in a 3-mile radius. Old Man Miller, the pastor's brother, had set the whole thing up months ago, after the 3rd break-in that year. The note wasn't a trap. The note was the truth. The trap was for whoever didn't believe the truth. They picked Henry up off the floor of that hardware store with sawdust in his hair and a knot already swelling on his shoulder. The sheriff who put the cuffs on him was a man named David, a man Henry had gone to high school with, back when they were both 17 and full of promises neither of them ended up keeping. David didn't say a word the whole ride to the county jail. He just kept glancing at Henry in the rearview mirror, The same way a father looks at a son who's broken his mother's heart for the 100th time. And somewhere deep in his chest, in a place Henry hadn't visited in a long, long time, something began to ache. 3 days later, Henry's only living friend, an old mechanic named Thomas, came to visit him at the county jail. Thomas walked in slow, set his ball cap on the metal table, and just looked at Henry for a long moment. Henry's eyes were red. His shoulders were hunched. And before Thomas could even say hello, Henry leaned forward and let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. "Tommy," he said, shaking his head, "tell me something. How can a man trust people anymore? I mean, you read a note from a stranger, you take him at his word, and look what happens." Thomas didn't answer right away. He just sat there. He picked up his ball cap. He turned it slowly in his hands. And then he looked Henry dead in the eye. "Henry," Thomas said quietly, "the note told you the truth. The safe really wasn't locked. The handle really did turn. The pastor really did write you a kind word in his own hand." Henry blinked. Thomas leaned in a little closer. "You weren't there to trust him, Henry. You were there to rob him. The only person in that store who broke trust that night was you." The room went very still. Henry opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. And for the first time in maybe 30 years, no excuse came out. Just silence. And what he understood in that moment is something you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. Here's the truth, friend. The loudest complaints about other people in this world almost always come from the folks who never offered honesty in the first place. When a man can't look in the mirror, he'll spend the rest of his life blaming the glass, and he'll miss every second chance God ever set in front of him. Trust isn't broken by the world. Trust is broken by the small, quiet choice we make every morning about who we're going to be that day. So tonight, before you lay your head down, I want you to do one thing. Think of one moment this week where you blamed somebody else for something that started with you, and just be honest with yourself about it. That's it. That's the whole work. And listen, I read every single comment under these stories. Every one. So I want you to do something for me, and for somebody out there silently watching who needs to hear it. Down in the comments, tell me about one time in your life when you finally stopped blaming somebody else and took the hard, honest look at yourself instead. What did that moment teach you? Your story is going to reach somebody tonight who's sitting in their truck or their kitchen wrestling with the exact same thing, and your honesty might be the hand on their shoulder they've been waiting for. That's what this little community does. We hold each other up. And if this story moves you even a little, do me one favor. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. New stories like this one come out every week, and I want to make sure the next one finds its way to you on the night you need it most. Take care of yourself tonight, friend. I'll see you in the next one.